This makes me so happy.
Baby mushrooms.
It's just baby.
They're from World Market, $8.99 USD. Alice's favorite one was the brown one.
So cute.
I like this one because it reminds me of Mario Kart. You should take that one.
No.
She's gonna take that one. I have period cramps. Hurts. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. It hurts to laugh.
Oh, that I made it too sweet.
Oh,
Need more water.
no.
Sorry.
My uterus.
I don't understand the sweetness level of that creamer. I used it like milk.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. I feel like you're gonna have to like dump some out or like add more coffee.
Oh, where's my teeth?
You're gonna get a cavity.
Then I'll have to go to the dentist.
Oh my gosh. We have to go to the eye doctor, the gynecologist, and the dentist. Just gonna have to make our rounds.
Where's paper towel?
In the pantry, right side. Don't judge me. I have a lot of corn pops in there. You haven't had the American corn pops.
Oh no, the ones that look irregular?
There was one thing that Alice said to me before that really stuck with me. And it's just something you never forget. She said that the Canadian corn pops are better than the American corn pops.
No, I didn't say that.
No,
I never had the American ones.
no, you said that the Canadian ones were better.
Maybe I said they look better.
Okay, fine. Maybe you did say that.
I
But
never had the American ones, but they don't look right. They look too natural.
I'm gonna give you a
Original
Ziploc
corn.
to take home.
Just give me one corn
One
pop.
pop.
Yeah. Oh, this doesn't look good anymore.
What kind of barista are you?
Mmm.
Is it good?
Yes.
I have a
Synthetic.
big burp brewing.
Do it. Go.
It's stuck. You know when you feel like the bubble in your chest? It's like right here now. What are we doing today?
We are talking about how we manage a large collection with not a proportionate amount of time.
A very not proportionate.
How many plants do you think you have?
Honestly,
Well,
like including like the seedlings and like all the props and stuff.
Well, I feel like where do you draw the line? If it's like an unrooted chunk in a moss bin.
I mean, you still have to care for it.
Yeah.
I would say I'm probably well over 200 then.
Like a seedling counts as its own plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well over two. I'd probably say maybe 250 then.
I think you have more than that. Because remember way back when Jean did that contest on the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Like guess how many plants in my collection the winner gets, like this plant. And then she had over 1,000. It was like, I'm pretty sure it was like 1,000.
What?
Yeah.
But
And that was like 2 years ago. She has a lot of like little Hoyas.
That's
and things
true.
Like that, but
Okay, fine.
I would be surprised if you had less than 400.
You think? You really think? I've gotten rid of a lot of plants though.
Okay. How many are on this shelf right now? 35 on this shelf. Plus 40. That's
50.
like another 15, right?
Okay, fine.
So just on this wall alone is like 55, 60 plants.
Actually, you're right. Because then I have my tall XO, my super, super large XO, my small XO.
There's
and
5 more
Therium
here, another one
shell,
here, another one here. Yeah, so
a couple
just
in the bedroom.
in your living space alone, there's like
Probably
close to like
100.
75, 80 plants
Yeah.
just in here. And
Yeah.
that's the minority of your collection.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
wow.
like, I think,
maybe 354.
so we don't count our plants, but I counted my Hoya cabinet, or maybe my Mills bowl before I converted it to a Hoya cabinet. It was like about 40
Wow.
just in that one cabinet. And that's also like the majority of my plants are in the plant room as well.
And that, yeah, and on your plant shelf, you've got, yeah,
Yeah, my plant shelf was probably like
50, 40,
more than that.
70.
Maybe, yeah, 80 plants on that.
You never show that part of your,
No, the lighting sucks there. Is that a large collection? would you consider? I would consider it a large collection.
I would consider it a large collection considering the average person has like maybe 5 houseplants, like large houseplants, and that's it. But I guess from a like hobbyist standpoint, I don't think that that's a lot compared to some people that have like
2,000
big greenhouses. Yeah.
Or their house is like plants and plants.
But I wouldn't say that what we have is little. I think the average person would come in here and be like,
that's a lot of plants.
Holy shit.
How much would you say your collection has grown since 2019?
Oh my gosh.
Like, do you remember
more than double
back when you had less than like 10 plants?
That would have been maybe around 2015, 2016.
That would have been me around like 2018. I was fine with that number of plants, so it was just decor.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the collector's itch set in. Okay, so for me, I started by, this is like a really long intro. for me, I started by like just frenzy buying common plants in garden centers.
That was so fun.
Yeah, like, I've never seen this before. And then I joined the Facebook group and I was like, what are these like imported plants?
Yeah.
And then everything kind of and then I met you.
Oh god, and it was all downhill from there. It was all downhill.
And it was always like every day we were like looking at purges and we were like planning our days around purges when
that was like the peak.
It was fun.
It was,
but it was bad.
reckless.
It was really bad.
I feel like
very
so many of us were reckless, like so reckless. It was like the thrill of it. But then when you look back and think about how much money you spent on
and like how much value those plants have held since then, it's not fun to
I don't want to think about it. Next topic.
All that to say, we have a large-ish collection each. I think we're both about the same size. Maybe mine's a little bit bigger because a lot of her Hoyas just died, but it was pretty much the same.
I would say so. I feel like we buy plants at the same pace. And purge plants at the same
and
pace.
We receive plants from Jing at the same time. Like, she's like very fair. Like, you get one. I didn't forget about you.
Get one too.
But yeah, like we both have really challenging schedules, but in different ways. So my schedule is really crazy because of work, and then now because of YouTube, and then you have like a more like, what do you call it? Like this very amorphous schedule filled with a lot of stuff, but it's not like quite as rigid as my schedule.
I feel like there's more flexibility with my schedule, but it also requires like a lot of discipline because I'm just at home.
A ton of because there's not as much structure around what you do.
And I don't have like
accountable to it.
I don't have set hours. So it's like I could be working for like 16 hours a day, but like for Alice, she has to like work X amount of hours a day, but she has to physically go somewhere. And then there's like commute time and like she has to be on a certain schedule. So I feel like it's both stressful in different ways.
And like with what I do, I think I haven't talked about this in a long time, so I think a lot of people who are new to the channel don't know what I do, but on paper, I'm a coffee trainer. So it sounds pretty simple, but essentially what it translates to is that I'm not ever off the clock. Like even Christmas Day, I'm not off the clock, even though like we're not open, but something can still happen. And I've been driving to one of the cafes on Christmas because something happened.
I feel like this is your job. Like this is your job, and this is your job as a coffee trainer. Like this. And then all of this is filled with just the most random. And she works crazy hours. I could not. She wakes up so freaking early, and then she'll get home at like night.
And that's also challenging for schedules because I'm so tired. So anyways, that's a long tangent to say we're kind of busy.
But I mean, I think a lot of people can relate though. Like
like I've had people say like, this is my job, like I'm having trouble like keeping up with plant care and stuff, like what do you do? Or they say like, I can't imagine doing all of these things that you do and do YouTube and stuff like that. I don't even know how we do it.
I don't know how you do it. I know how I do it, but I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, but I don't know how you put out so much content.
Because I'm always at home.
I know, but you have your own business. and
That's
everything.
true.
So like,
You just don't sleep usually.
I don't sleep enough, no, and I never take vacation.
So watch this video so she can go to Britain.
Yeah.
She wants to go to Britain. She wants to go home.
I want to go to the
Let him go
motherland.
home. So
so
we're
like,
busy. Everyone's
we're
busy. Right?
Yeah, everyone's busy in their own way, and everyone's collection is different. Everyone's like amount of energy they have to put towards plant care is different. Sometimes people find it easier to motivate themselves to just like sit down and do stuff. Sometimes people look at their plants like, I can't. I just physically cannot force myself to do it. So we don't have like a perfect like routine or system to go by to where we like are always on top of our plant care and we never miss anything. We show a lot of our plants that are like, you know, declining due to neglect, and like we've gotten to a place where we feel like we understand ourselves and our collections and our tastes a lot better. You did? You did it?
I did it.
I didn't even hear it.
I did it and then it came out.
So you never suppress your burps on this
I know,
channel.
but you were in the middle of a thought and it was a good one, and I was like, it's coming.
And you're like,
it's
I burped.
Because I didn't want them to be like, did she just burp and like try and play it off? Like, do you remember what even you were saying?
I think I was saying, oh yeah, we don't have it down to a perfect science.
Definitely not.
And it's never going to be perfect because our collection is always going to be changing, the plants and the seasons and everything. So we just thought we'd structure this video as more of like a discussion and a chat, so we can just kind of hang out and be comfortable and talk through some things that works for us in managing a large collection with very little time. And we don't have kids, but we have dogs and we have partners that we want to spend time with, and like how we try to keep on top of all of that, plus YouTube.
Because those other things are important, you know. Like I would much rather lose plants than lose time with family and
What's your love language?
Acts of service and quality time.
Quality time, I think, is my main one, and then gifts is my second one.
Oh yeah, that's something that I definitely noticed about you early on in the friendship, is that like you really do value the quality time for G. Like you make sure that you have like enough time that, you know, you want to spend with him, and like they freaking go out every weekend just to do anything.
I know,
something
because he wants to.
Because he wants to.
I don't want to.
Like she could be home editing, filming, doing
like,
nothing.
Some days I would rather die than leave the house, and like some days I'm about to go out and I have like burst into tears because I don't want to go out that badly.
But she like goes. She goes.
Well, I mean, on that particular day I cried. I didn't go.
Well, I would hope he didn't make you go after you cried.
We're leaving.
Oh my god. So yeah, anyway, all that to say, we do value a lot of other things over this hobby. This is just a very small glimpse of, or a small sliver of our lives that we share, you know? Like when I get those comments about like, oh, you say you do this and why does your plant look like that? It's because I have a life.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Can I live?
Yeah, like let me live. I think the purpose of this video is to, one, like give you some tips to move forward with your collection if you feel like you are struggling, but then also to like just kind of be easy on yourself and like, you know, that validation of it's okay to
totally. To
just
like
live your life, and
no, like there's no shame in a plant dying, and and like doing this video and like trying to plan it out actually forced me to think of ways that I set up my collection to be less hands-on, that I didn't even really realize was specifically like a time-saving thing. It's just all added up over time, and then now we've gotten to a place where things can kind of manage themselves. So I have like a list of things to go through. So I'm going to be looking at my phone every now and then. Hopefully this is helpful for some people. It's not going to be like a one-size-fits-all. This is not a video that's like, here are 10 tips on how to manage your collection, because your collection is different, you are different, your schedule is different, your conditions are different, like your plants are not the same. So just pick and choose what might work well for you. Although our collections are very similar and the size of it's very similar, we're very different. Oh yeah. Even though we're very similar, we're also super different.
That's actually just a fun fact about us. We actually are very different. Like we have totally different tastes. I would say like in music.
Yeah, because I just listen to Christmas music.
Yeah. Like in our hobbies, you know, where I'm like movies and shows and TV, and she doesn't really watch that much on TV. You know, she likes wrestling. Like
I really like wrestling.
Yeah, like we're just very, very, very different.
And like your personality is so different.
Yeah.
Like we like a lot of the same things. And we also have this obviously
humor.
Hobby that ties us together, and the humor and everything. But like the way you approach your hobby is very different. It's way more thorough. I think your plant care is way more thorough than me. Like I'm way more lazy about how I do things. Like I never sanitize my pond. I run it underwater.
Okay, never. I didn't know that. But you know, whatever.
I've done it once and I never did it again.
You're like, I hated that.
No.
It's not fun. I don't enjoy it.
No.
I don't enjoy it. But it just keeps me up at night.
So if anyone has not seen Charmaine's ADHD and plants video, I highly recommend that you watch that. I'm going to link it in the description because there's a lot of things in that video that's going to also like overlap with what we're talking about today. So that video is going to be a lot structured around like just wrapping your mind around this very daunting list of like plant care things that you need to do and keeping yourself organized, because even as someone without ADHD, like it helps me as well to like just kind of change your mindset on how you think about things, and like how like your level of organization is a lot better than mine. So it's definitely something that I think that everyone can take something from, even if you don't suffer from ADHD. Yeah, I feel like the OCD part of you drives a lot of the organization.
Oh,
right?
I'm telling you, they're like my ADHD and my OCD, they're always like this. ADHD is like, go, go, go. And OCD is like, wait, wait, wait. Yeah, it's like there's two versions of me and we just hate each other. Somber music.
Yeah, so I highly recommend you watch that video as well, because like we might not go in depth on certain topics that she goes very in depth on in her video. So that's the intro.
24 minutes. Oh my gosh.
I hope you guys have snacks, because we don't have like tons of things to show. We're just going to be chit-chatting, and we'll show things every now and then, but
so how about they take a pee break and a snack break, and we will go on an ad break.
Grab something crunchy and salty.
Yeah, and then we will break and then continue. Ready, set, break. Okay, switch positions. Are you comfortable?
My hip.
Do you need to stretch your legs?
I need to get younger.
Oh.
I feel like I've been putting a lot of pressure on this side of my body.
Oh, I thought it was gonna. Oh, it kind of cracked.
Do you have to?
Okay, ready. Okay.
So first, before we talk about like the plant care things, how do you know like what size of a collection is like fulfilling for you? If you're collecting plants, obviously you're accumulating plants. You're not just like, oh, I have 10 plants and that's all I need to do. Like if you're here, you're probably growing your collection, right?
Yeah.
So like how do you know when you reached your threshold? And that's going to be different for everyone.
It's a very, very hard line to draw, because I feel like we're always constantly making excuses to move that line, or we don't even realize.
And that line also moves sometimes too. That line's moved for me since the last year, when like I kept getting busier and busier and busier. You've reached a few breaking points in your...
Yeah, so I mean, this is probably not what people want to hear, or maybe not everyone might agree with me, but
Just crying.
I almost feel like you have to get that itch out of your system, like that period of time where you're just like spending money on plants and you're buying for the thrill.
Yeah,
because honestly, I think it was like we didn't even realize we were in such like a reckless time, but going through it, no matter how much it cost us at the time, I'm happy that it happened, because now I'm like, it's clear, like there's so much clarity, and it's almost like, you know, when you party in your teenage years, right? And then you get into your adult years, you're like,
oh,
no,
we had
I'm
such
done.
a rager. Like 2020 was just 1 year long
huge rager. We were just drunk the entire year. So in that sense, I feel like that was like the one good thing we got out of it. Plus, you know, some of the plants that we still really, really love today.
And, yeah, the people we met and all that.
Yeah. But my breaking point, I've had two very clear breaking points. The first one happened in 2018, 2019, and I'll see if I can send Alice some photos to plug in here. This was the peak of when I was insane about buying plants on Marketplace from people. Every monstera, like humongous monstera that would pop up on Marketplace, it was mine. I don't care what the price was, I don't care where it was, I didn't care if I had to rent a U-Haul, it was coming home with me. And I had maybe at the peak around 6 massive monsteras, and my house was insane. Like, it was, I mean, look at it, it was insane. And it was all like fun and dandy until I got thrips, and I didn't know what a thrip was back then, because I never had thrips when I was living in California. You know, I had been growing plants since like 2012, and I've never had a thrip in California. So it wasn't until here where I'm like, why is everything yellowing? It's turning brown. I was checking roots, it was fine. And so yeah, I saw the thrips, but I didn't know what it was, you know? So I'm treating with just like wiping it down with water and like I didn't bring soap. And so I got to a point where all these monsteras were dying, all my other plants were dying. I had a full thrips outbreak, like from your nightmares. And I was like, I can't manage this. I have too many plants, and I just threw them all away. All of my big beautiful monsteras. Such a way. I feel guilty to this day that like a lot of these monsteras were probably heirloom monsteras, and you know, like they had been grown for a long time based on how large they were. So that was one breaking point. There was that guilt about like having all these plants go to crap. And then the second one was, yeah, after the pandemic, like end of 2020, we're just importing like crazy, buying stuff from purges like crazy.
At that point, you had learned how to take care of thrips.
I did.
So like that line then moved for you.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I can handle this.
Yeah.
But then it's like the acclimatization process and losing money on imports and spending work hours in purges, refreshing, like it was pure madness. And I guess the breaking point after that was when my mental health just took a crap, because in 2020, that's when my depression was bad, my anxiety was bad, and I just couldn't do it. All the plants were dying. I didn't even care. I was just letting them die. So those were like my two very, very distinct breaking points for me, where it's like, I know that there is a threshold. I just have to figure out where it is.
I don't know if I had like such a clear breaking point, but one breaking point definitely happened post YouTube, because like my schedule was, so like my work busyness was going like this, and then suddenly I threw YouTube in there, and then it was like I couldn't handle my collection anymore. My collection wasn't growing at like an alarming rate or anything. It was like I'd get a jing plant every now and then, and I wasn't really buying plants anymore. But suddenly, like my threshold for the number of plants I was able to stay on top of went from here to here, because my busyness went from here to here. So it wasn't until recently that I got rid of like around 30 plants. In my video I showed 27, but I got rid of a couple more after that. But that's like not even enough of what I need to get rid of. So I'm still decluttering. How do you know when you have the right size for you?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like no one really has like that perfect answer, because there's always going to be these new plants that pop up that you want to get and stuff. But I think for me, like even the size that I have now, I still think it's slightly too large. But I think one way you can sort of offset that balance, I guess, is by purging plants if you're going to bring new plants home. You know, just to at least offset it, maybe not like make it any better than it was, but at least to just keep that sort of balance.
So like being part of a local plant group is really, really good for a number of reasons, because like there are so many people who love plants, so that you already have this like audience to sell to. But also most Facebook groups have this like a set of rules, so there's like accountability to people. Like you're not gonna come across these like marketplace weirdos that like are just gonna waste your time. Like a lot of groups have like rules against ghosting and all that stuff. So like I think the daunting thing about selling, or like the thing that makes people not want to sell, it makes me not want to sell, is like the amount of time it takes to sell a plant.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. The communication, the setting, the pickup up, and it's like, especially if you're purging like 20 plants, you've got to do that 20 times, and it's like,
yeah, and all the e-transfers and stuff. So if you're not a part of a local plant group, I would be surprised if you're in North America that your city doesn't have a local Facebook plant group. And if I wasn't on Facebook, I would join Facebook just for that.
Same.
Like it's brought so much value to our lives, because not only are you part of Facebook plant group, but you're also you can also join a lot of these like informational groups where like a lot of botanists are like talking about things, and you learn so much from these people.
Oh my gosh, if you just read these threads where they're just sharing their knowledge, it's like reading a book. It's
I know,
like,
and I feel like I should be paying for this.
I know, like this is good stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there have been a few people on my channel who say like the only social media they have is literally YouTube. And I do talk a lot about things that go on Facebook, but yeah, honestly, not to encourage you to like join social media if that's something that's not good for like your mental health or whatever, but if you are like at least struggling to like even find plant friends locally or find new plants that you want to buy or even sell, yeah, I would say Facebook is the place to be. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It definitely just makes it easier to know that I can like sell plants and not again have to worry about the marketplace thing, because it's just terrible in there.
No, it's awful. Like I would never sell a plant on marketplace.
It was hard.
I always get sketched out by people who sell on marketplace, because I'm like, why didn't you sell in the group?
I know. What's wrong with it?
Are you flipping this?
Does it have thrips?
So yeah, like I feel like it's healthy to stay kind of like below threshold, because once you reach your threshold, it doesn't feel good. But when you know, and like we just, I guess, have avenue to kind of like release that pressure in your collection is really good. So Facebook plant groups would be the best one, I think, because unless you have a network of friends that you can just like gift plants to. I mean, I feel weird about offering plants to people and then asking money for it.
Yeah,
so I would just give them away.
I often, I mean, she did that too. Like, I did that video where I just gave a bunch of plants away to my neighbors. I just put it out in my lobby. They like went like hotcakes. Yeah. So she's been giving me plants to put in the lobby too.
Yeah, I'll probably keep doing that. So like, if you have those avenues, then like when the time comes that you reach your threshold, because that, as I guess, like it's kind of like a moving target. You never know where that threshold is going to be in that point of your life. And in terms of like growing your collection, I think we learned so much in the last 2 years of like what plants we actually want to keep. Yeah. Because we bought so many plants that ended up not
being like underwhelming or just not bringing joy like we thought it would.
Yeah, because I think we didn't really know what we liked as well as we do now. Plus, because buying is such a frenzy sometimes on like the more uncommon plants, then FOMO really gets you, because like when a plant drops in a nursery and it's like what once was rare and then is now like in a garden center, and then everyone's just like
flocking to it.
Then it makes me want it too.
No, it's,
and I have to physically be like, no, you never wanted this plant even before, so you don't want it now.
What 3 plants can you name that it was that for you, where you never wanted it, but because it was at the greenhouse you ended up bringing it home? Mine's gonna be Ring of Fire.
Yeah, mine's died.
Really?
It's because I put it into that batch of pond that had too much osmocote in it. Yeah,
mine's still in the original soil, which is why I have thrips all over this house. So Ring of Fire for me.
Ring of Fire.
I would say
I'm like still mildly like it though.
I like it, but it's not one that I ever would have.
No, I wouldn't have like looked it up and like
and like bought it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely alocasia, green dragon. I would say green dragon, Beginda. I got that from you, but I did buy one before.
Yeah, we bought together? Yeah, we bought it together.
I feel like there's like probably like some kind of Hoya that ended up I probably have at least 5 plants in my collection right now where I never intended to buy it or never really had it on my radar to buy until they just ended it was right in front of you and you're like, oh,
might as well. Well, like the one that I almost did that for was the mames. Like our local greenhouses had mames for $3. $4? Yeah, you got one. I was like, I need to go there right now. It would have cost me so much in gas to drive an hour to get a $3 mame, which I didn't even want in the first place. So I think at that, luckily I stopped myself and like just, you know, shook myself out of that trance. But
what about the Billy you just bought?
But I do really like Billy's, but I already have. I didn't need it, but it wasn't like it made me want it. Yeah, but it was a $3 Billy. There's like those kind of frenzies, but also like when you're importing plants, you're looking at this like price list of like plants and you're like, I recognize this. Like it's just right there. It's like at your fingertips and you just want to like collect as much as possible because you're like not sure when that opportunity is going to present itself again.
It's definitely the FOMO thing. It's the FOMO.
Yeah, totally. Or if something just looks pretty.
Oh, well, I've done that plenty of times.
Yeah.
You remember that like that blackish purplish plant we bought from the nursery?
The potato.
The potato thing. Yeah. It was so cool. I loved it. I had no idea how to grow it.
Like crystals.
Yeah, and then I got covered in like crystal salts. I'm like, what the hell is this? There's so many times where I can tell you, I'm like, oh, this is pretty, and then I just bring it home. But then you know those little things here and there, they just add up.
They totally add up, and I think that must be one of the biggest money wasters and time wasters because like, it didn't really like it wasn't purchased or collected with intention. Yeah. So I think again, like Charmaine said, you kind of have to like live through it to really understand it for yourself. Like there's only so much someone can tell you. Yeah. But luckily we're at a time now that like plants are way more available.
I know.
And the competition for them are way less fierce. Like the competition for plants has now moved to like those upper ultra like hard to come by, you gotta know someone who knows someone kind of plants. Anything that's like on those Ecuador price lists, there's like no competition for them anymore. Yeah, that's so
it's so easily accessible, but even for the ones that are like super elusive now, like you have to be in like the cool club. Like, you have to know. I don't have that same desire that I have for like plants that are available through Ecuador. Like they're pretty and they're nice. I would love to have it, obviously, but it's not something that I put in my mind as like I have to have.
Like you're not on a mission to get.
It's just it's a nice plant.
But like if someone was like, I have seeds of this plant for like this much, and be like, I would like to purchase one.
I'll take a seed, please. I think it's just always going to change, you know, but it is just, it varies from person to person, and you just have to kind of, I think always just like check in with yourself. Yeah. And like, how
what
are you
like
doing?
some markers for knowing that you're like above threshold? And it's like not realizing, for me, it's not realizing when new growth comes in and you're like, holy crap, like, new. Or not realizing that something's dying or has died. Yeah. That's like, that tells me that I wasn't, you know, caring for that plant, and I wasn't like even checking on that plant. I think for me, that happens when my plants are so numerous and so overgrown that they're like kind of covering each other, and their plants just get like hidden in the jungle, and I just let them die without realizing it, and that's definitely a huge marker.
Yeah, because it's like if you really, really, really love that plant, you would know that it was there, because you'd be wanting
like
to see
excited, like you would be like, oh, I'm gonna check on this plant. Oh, you're doing so good. And
like you'd never put like your ace of spades back there. You know?
And like I know exactly when my ace would be putting out a new leaf, because I'd be like watching that. Oh, it's getting bigger.
I think that like just constant check-ins with yourself, like in this hobby, am I happy and enjoying my plants, or am I stressed and miserable right now? Because this hobby should not make you miserable, and it should not stress you out. Not to say that it never will, like there are times, just depending on your schedule, like how you're feeling, if you're on a period, like I don't want to water my plants today, or I don't want to care for my plants today. But overall, does your collection bring you more joy, or does it bring you more stress?
When you declutter your closet, if you hadn't worn that shirt in 2 years, you can get rid of it, and you probably would never think about it again.
Same concept for sure.
So now that that's out of the way, we can talk about like plant care and how we manage to care for plants in our collections. And again, we don't have it down to science, so if you watch our channels, you'll know that we've killed some plants from neglect. Things have dried out, gotten dry rot and all that stuff. Sometimes I will just intentionally let a plant die so I can then throw it away without like guilt.
I feel like when I do that, they just continue to live. Like my Homalomena Thai Splash.
It's still living?
Oh my God. No, it's dead now.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't give it water for like 3 months. But up until then, I was like, I'm going to put it in the greenhouse. It's so hot. I'm going to put it, it was in perlite.
You should just put it in the oven. So yeah, it's not perfect, but some things definitely work well for us that help make things a lot more efficient. So
wait, I think before we get into this, we should go on another ad break.
Oh yeah. Do you guys want to see an ad?
I think they want to see an ad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, you have an ad.
Here you go. Pee in a cup. Oh crap. Recording. It's
Pee in a cup.
It's apple juice, okay?
Yes, this next section is about how we navigate the actual care of the plants. And I think it's helpful to kind of preface it by like asking yourself or ourselves the question of like, are we looking to grow these plants as big and humongous as possible? Or are these particular plants ones that we just kind of like want to keep them like a manageable size and they need to just like stay contained in the space that they're in? Because that's going to change like how you care for them, because like you can slow down a plant's growth so that they're not going to cause you so much stress. For sure, like the ones here, you don't want them.
These are purely decorative.
Yeah.
I really am not trying to like beef them up as large as they can be. I want them to be healthy. I would love to see new growth.
Yeah.
But I regularly prune back so that it doesn't take over the entire shelf.
And if they were to grow humongous, then it would be a source of stress for you.
Yeah.
The ones that you're trying to grow as big as possible are in your plant room, right? In a greenhouse. Like, let's say you're gonna be entering into a really busy season in your life. Like you're an accountant and it's tax season. So you're gonna have a month of hell. So what are some ways that you can like set them up to kind of maintain themselves and not need you as much? So one way is like if you're just kind of treating it like you're going away on vacation. So one thing that, because I haven't really vacationed at all in the last few years, but when you go on vacation, you reduce the time that your grow lights are on. They're going to grow slower, but they're also going to take up water slower, and they're not going to dry out as fast, and you're not going to have to water them as much. So that's one thing to do, like if it's like a few week stretch up to a month, to kind of like slow them down that way.
Yeah, definitely reduce the timers on your lights and pull things back from, you know, hot windows or like really bright windows
or like vents and things like that. One thing that you could do, and this is one thing I did because I was going away on a work trip for 3 weeks to Montreal, and this was like in the height of summer, and I knew that it was going to be super hot and I didn't want my boyfriend to have to water my plants too much. What I did was I got a small tent to put in my plant room, and I put a lot of like my more precious plants in there that I didn't want to lose, and I wanted them to be able to kind of just maintain themselves, high humidity, lots of warmth, and they'd be happy but not need that much attention. And I still have that tent to this day, and I haven't gotten rid of it, but the idea of getting it in the first place was so that they wouldn't need me for as much. Yeah,
right now I honestly pop in my tent like once a week.
I do it like once every like 3 days or so, but I don't get to spend much time in there. I just like look.
Now it's like I go in there really once a week if I'm going to take an Instagram photo or just to water, and then it's sealed for the rest of the time because they really kind of sustain themselves. It's like it's really humid in there, it's really warm, and things do dry out faster, but I water them a lot heavier. I put water lines higher for my pond, like in my no drainage vessels. Like I do them much higher than I would for a plant that's like out here, because I know that it'll last a lot longer. But for the most part, they're all growing like crazy, and I give them the least amount of attention.
And have you noticed since using Myco that plants don't show thirst even though like it's all dried out?
It's amazing.
It's so
Myco is amazing. Like truly, they're just more resilient. Like,
Yeah, like I've got plants that like I found pests on, and I'm like, I couldn't tell. I just happened to see the pest, but the plant wasn't showing any signs. And there's so many plants that are like bone dry. You know how like when you water a pond and it's super dry and it like crackles? But the plant wasn't wilting, it wasn't showing any signs of that. So like that's one benefit of myco, is that they make them more drought tolerant and just tolerant in so many ways.
it's not a selling point, you guys. It's true. Like
we are not affiliated with any sort of micro brand. We don't get any like kickback. Like if you use our Amazon link, that's like the most, and it's like a very negligible amount. It's not.
It's like 2 cents.
It's like 2 cents per sale. And I don't have a US link, so any links that I put for US Amazon is going to be Charmaine's links, just as an FYI.
Alex.
But yeah, we don't get anything for like promoting the use of myco. It's just been so great. I don't think the myco people care about houseplants.
They don't. They
just
want
care
the
about
marijuana.
cannabis. Yeah, they just care about the cannabis.
And they don't need us to advertise for them. It sells itself.
No, it does. Yeah, like give them myco, pull them back a little bit from the lights, or just like shorten the time that your grow lights are on. And if your grow lights aren't already on timers, that's a huge like.
Oh my god, you gotta.
It's not even a time saver, but it's just like one thing not to think about. You know.
You wake up, they're already on.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So they have like timers, and then they have just like the electrical outlets that are just timers. So they have the timers, like, you know, your old school ones.
Oh yeah, that's what I use. I use like the analog timer where you have to like click in the times.
But I use the US,
smart timers.
Yeah, the smart timers. So they're just like, you know, electrical. What do you call those? Electrical towers, or like the bars. And you just, anything that's plugged into it will be on that same timer. So that's what I'm using.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing, just with an analog timer. Just if you don't already have that in place, do that for yourself, because it's just the best investment. It's not even very expensive, but just like take the time to set it up, and then that's going to be one huge weight off your shoulders. When I had to like go through manually and click on all my grow lights, it felt normal at the time, but when I stopped doing it, that was like, what the heck?
And then like she mentioned, she got the tent for her like more precious plants. And honestly, like, not only are, I would say, talking purely about the exoterras, not only are they like visually appealing or whatever, like aesthetically pleasing, it really does just help you keep up with the care of the plants. For one, you can just freely spray in there. You don't have to worry about getting stains on the walls, on the floors. You can just water quickly and be done with it, seal it up, holds all the humidity, and then you don't really have to worry about them all that much, and they're more contained, like in terms of like pest outbreaks and stuff. Like during my complete thrips and spider mite outbreak, the only one that didn't get it was my soderoy garden. Not a single one. They were just like
That's
all
so nice.
safe in there. I know. They're like,
but also like during the day, so much moisture is evaporated through the leaves, so keeping them in a greenhouse is going to help you not to have to water them as much. And if you don't have like an exo or a tent and you don't want to get one, like, you know, it's just going to be a temporary period of your life, then just get a bin. Get a clear bin, and then if the plants are tall, just put another bin on top, upside down, and just get it near to your grow light, and they're just gonna just be fine.
Put a photo in right here of your acclimatization bins on top of each other.
Do I have a photo?
Yeah, you'll find them.
Okay, so I'll throw that in, and I'll just tell you that you want to open that up every couple of days, just to prevent or check for any fungal growth or any mold growing on the leaves. And that's how you can make a makeshift greenhouse in the event that you're not going to be able to see to your plants for a while. But long term, a tent or an exo is really great. Yeah,
honestly, it's been these plants here outside, these are my more, not high maintenance, but they require more of my care. I'm watering them more.
Way more.
Checking for pests more. Like, seriously, in my plant room, because everything besides my anthurium shelf are in greenhouses, and I don't really think about them all that much. Like, I water right now like once a week, and then they're good.
Watering days can be so time consuming. especially if you're like pausing to check on the plants and like marvel at the growth and stuff. So like one thing that I think if you watch either of our channels, you're gonna know is that we grow everything in clear vessels. It's not only an aesthetic thing for us, it's definitely an aesthetic thing, but also it makes everything so much easier when you have a large collection, because you can just look at a shelf and just see who needs water rather than having to pick them up. If it's in like a cover pot, you have to like lift it and like put your finger in the soil or whatever. So clear pots, I think, is probably my biggest time saver for watering days.
It changed the entire hobby for us. I think it was like once we went clear, it's like literally like, so many things became clear.
There's not much reason to not grow in a clear vessel unless that not clear vessel would happen to be really pretty. That's why I would buy an opaque vessel. But when I started to grow in clear vessels and like using a lot of orchid pots, there was so much discussion around the dangers of growing in clear vessels because algae will kill your plant. Where's the evidence?
Show me a plant that has died from algae. Please.
Has died of algae.
Please do it.
There also is like the argument, I have never read any sort of scientific article about this, but the argument that algae produces oxygen within the substrate or like lower down in the vessel for the plant because they are photosynthesizing. But they're not growing in the substrate. They're only growing like on the edges.
Yeah, if you guys ever unpot a super algae ridden vessel, you'll notice the substrate is not, there's no algae on it. It's just the ones that are on the outside and on the vessel itself. It's not like
that
the
have
whole,
like the light.
Yeah, no algae on the roots. Like it's really just what is exposed to the sunlight, and it almost creates this film along the glass vessel. But once you dump whatever is in there, like there's virtually no algae. It's just whatever was floating in there from you having it in water, but it's not like the algae was like growing like in the center of that vessel.
The only thing that would be bad about algae is like algae, if your vessel is really covered in algae, it becomes difficult to see the moisture in the substrate. In those instances, I would find it more useful to wash it out. But the algae itself is not harming your plant, despite what some people might say.
It's just because it's from experience. Like I have plants that have been in the same vessel for so long that is so like filthy with algae, but it's completely fine. So I don't know, it's just, again, personal experience. If I've never struggled with it, then I don't really see the need to like create this panic around something that I can't physically prove is killing my plant.
Exactly. And there are so many different types of clear vessels to get depending on your growing style. So if you're a fan of drainage, there are drainage ones. If you're a fan of no drainage, there's no drainage ones. That's probably like the most commonly asked question you get. It's a very commonly asked question for me for like specifically these plastic ones that I use. So I grabbed some of Charmaine's plants to show you all the different types of clear vessels that we use, and anything that is purchasable, I'll try to link it. Which one you want to start with? The one that you get the most questions about. What's this plant?
Sold to me as an Emerald Dense Af, but there's another
so cute
name for it. I can't remember.
But it looks a lot like a Felix.
Yeah, it's growing so well. This is the newest leaf. It's a little bit funky, but she's out.
So this one is in a glass no drainage container. Is this from IKEA?
Originally from IKEA, but purchased from a thrift store.
Actually, now that we're on topic, I don't think IKEA makes that trio anymore. The last few times I've gone there, there's like not even a shelf for them anymore. Like the last time I went there, it looked like they had recently restocked because all the shelves were really full, and they had none of these. Zero.
Why would they do that? Because people use this for candles.
People use these a lot for weddings.
Yeah.
So here's the tip. Find a local thrift store that has like a good homewares section and look for, what are you doing?
Sorry, I'm tucking in a pee-pee root.
Oh. Look for glass containers like this in like the vases section. They'll usually have a section for like decor, but if you want smaller ones than this, look in like the drinking glass section, because those are really great for Hoyas. They also keep these like really tiny ones, like this one. These would be for like those tea light candles, and like people buy these for weddings and then they just like get rid of them. And
so you'll see like hundreds of, there's so many of them.
And these are really, really great for small plants, but long-term growth are good for Hoyas, because Hoyas can kind of live in something this small for a really long time. For like small props of like aeroids and stuff, I would feel like it wouldn't live very long in this.
No.
But like we just hoard these.
These ones are, this is one of my favorite sizes, especially because like you can hold a longer stem in here, especially once you get your pole in. But can we just take a moment to appreciate these delicious, juicy roots, these TPS sugars roots.
This one got inoculated with TPS billions, which I will leave Charmaine's link, because it's not sold in Canada, unfortunately.
Alice does have some, because I brought some back.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not able to get it here in Canada, unfortunately.
So glass for no drainage. I know that some people like drill holes in them, but I'm always sketched out by drilling holes into glass and not like ceramic.
And I also just don't want holes in my
I know. Could we use ponds so heavily? And I'm gonna get to pond a little bit later, but we use ponds so heavily, and like we need a water reservoir and glass. It's clear. It's just so perfect. There's very few plants in my collection that do worse in this type of setup versus like drainage and soil, or drainage with pond with like a reservoir, a cache pot kind of thing. And
can we just quickly clarify, this is kind of off topic, but I hate when people use the term like using a no drainage pot as like it's a drainage hack. It's not a drainage hack. The point of no drainage is that it has no drainage. Because a lot of people say like, oh yeah, the leca at the bottom thing is not a drainage hack. It's not a drainage hack. This is it's like a reservoir. The point is that it's no drainage. It's not a drainage hack. It's just no drainage. It's just no drainage. I just want to make that clear because I said it on my channel and now it's on your channel. And now we can move on with our lives. Whole box of goodies.
Okay. Actually, this is another question that we get a lot. And I don't know if this has become more available in the States, because I get that question less now, but about the orchid pots.
Oh yeah.
So we grow a lot of pots. We grow a lot of plants in orchid pots. So these are designed for the orchid community because orchid roots photosynthesize, and it's just a lot more common historically for orchid growers to use them. So there are tons of different, not tons, there are a few different
There's a good amount
makers, but those manufacturers will make multiple different styles. So you'll see like the ones like this that are like solid on the outside with drainage holes at the bottom, and then they also make ones with slits on the sides. So if you don't know where to get them, I'm going to link North Shore Tropicals down below, because she ships, well, she's based here in Vancouver, but she also ships to the States. But if you're able to find it locally, I think pots are pricey to ship because they take up so much space, and the packages are by dimension. We use these quite heavily. You don't really use the slitted ones. I don't really use the slitted ones anymore, but I still use these ones.
I think it took us a while and like a few trial and error with different kinds of pots to figure out the ones we like. I really, really, really highly dislike the slitted pots now. I know you said your Pallidiflorum does really well in it, but...
So yeah, my strap leaf anthuriums is the one plant that I've found did better in a slitted pot versus no slits or no drainage. And that's like the exception to the rule. It's doing fine, but it's just not growing as insanely fast as it used to in a slitted pot.
I just don't like the slitted pots because once the roots come through those slits, it's like a razor. It just...
And they're kind of hard to cut. You need a really, really strong scissor to cut it.
And I just find out that they're ugly and they dry out. They dry crazy
so fast. Yeah, they dry.
There's like too much air.
That's the only one that I found is my pendant anthuriums that grow in a tree.
I mean, that would make sense.
So it's unfortunate, but all my other anthuriums that grow in no drainage are doing just fine. So this is a jing pot. We call them jing pots. It's not only jing that carries them. I think they're available in Asia as well. I've seen a lot of Singapore growers use them, but it's like frosted and it's really, really, really thick.
Very, very sturdy.
And the slits don't go up as high.
I really like these ones because these slits are wide enough that you could pull roots out without breaking them. And the holes down here are also large enough that you can just pull things out and they won't rip.
And they're very tidy. I like them.
Yeah, they just,
they look clean.
Nice.
So even it's frosted, but you can definitely see,
You can see
like,
what's going on
you can
in there.
see the moisture in the soil here.
Like, you know what your soil looks like when it's dry, and you know what it looks like wet. So it's just, you look at it and you just know if it needs water. So.
Yeah. And you can see when you're watering where the water's gone to and when to stop, which is like a really nice thing. And then the question that I get the most is like, where are those plastic pots that you use come from? So this one is what was used for a yogurt parfait that I got from a coffee shop. They were getting rid of them because they stopped making parfaits. So I can't tell you where to get them unless you frequent a coffee shop and maybe they like offer something like this and you can just buy it over and over again.
I wonder if you can like find like, you know, one of those restaurant stores that sells like the to-go containers.
Or like, yeah, sometimes the suppliers of like the dry goods might sell to the public, but then you'd have to buy like a case of it, and usually per case is like 1,000 of these.
You could share with your friends.
Yeah.
Do a group order.
Yeah, so this is probably the one I get asked about the most, which I can't tell you where to get it from, but this is what it was from.
I love those things.
They're really cute and they're really clean. I just wish they didn't have writing on them, but
I know. I tried to scratch it off and it didn't come off.
No, it doesn't.
It's really on there.
That one's really cute, and it's like a really good in-between size. It's not mini and it's not big. And then these ones are
Crunchy pots.
we call them crunchy pots because they're kind of crunchy. What was that? Water?
Oh, water chocolate.
Which we
Crunchy.
can't find them anymore.
Dude, if I had known they were gonna discontinue them, I would have just bought the entire shelf.
I know. But I think these are designed as like an outer pot for
An inner
something.
pot.
So those are our favorite ones, and that's
Yeah.
like not an exhaustive list,
Most
but like
used.
this I think covers like the needs of anyone, any style of growing in all different types of substrates. Clear vessels is probably the biggest time saving
Do it and
thing.
go to a thrift store.
Yeah.
You guys would be surprised at what you'll find.
So many good things, and then when you have like so many clear pots to choose from, then you don't have to spend time worrying like, oh, what matching a plant to a pot.
Oh,
like
I know.
everything just goes.
It just goes, yeah.
So that's a tip.
Tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks. Here's a tip.
And here's a trick.
One last thing about clear vessels. So we grow a lot of plants in pond in clear vessels with no drainage. That's like our go-to setup for almost all of our plants. It doesn't work as well for some plants versus others, but for the most part, it works for all the plants. Types of plants that we grow.
I've done it with cacti, Hoya, Ripsalis. There's no kind of plant that I haven't done it with, honestly.
And no drainage is so great for watering because it doesn't escape.
Yeah.
When your substrate becomes hydrophobic, it's just there. So if this plant was bone dry, I could water it in 1 second. Boop.
And you're done.
Capillary action will bring water to the rest of the substrate, and then that's it. So watering becomes so much faster in this kind of setup. So first of all, you can see that it needs water, and you can see how much water has gone in, and then you just drop that water in and walk away. And that's it.
I'm not gonna say foolproof, but you really like get the hang of it once you get going. Like try it with one plant. Understand sort of how it works, understand the water levels, when you need to water, and I promise like this, it just becomes so much faster to care for your plants.
Yeah.
Especially during times where you're just doing the bare minimum.
And we haven't even mentioned this, but like obviously clear vessels helps you just to see the root health.
Yeah.
So like you can just like from here see if a plant is doing well. Pon has been our preferred substrate for a while now. I think over a year. It's been like we've been slowly converting a lot of our plants to pon. When they get repotted, they just go from soil to pon. I think I would say probably 80% of my plants are in pon and the rest are in soil.
I want to say about 70% of mine are in pon.
The rest are in soil. I have like a couple in leca and then a few stragglers in moss that need to be moved out of moss. Which brings us to our next point.
Don't grow in moss. Well, don't
Stop
not
it.
grow in moss, but I mean.
Well, I mean, we have stopped growing in moss. I don't know when it finally clicked, but
It was when I got tree fern fiber.
was there like a moment? do you
That it
remember?
was that moment when I realized
Yeah.
that like it's just so much better to work with. I think it was when, not when I got tree fern fiber, but it was when I had used tree fern fiber and then I needed to repot it and everything just fell off the roots. I was like, why have I been using moss and just wrestling with moss for
Yeah.
so long? you
There
know?
obviously are benefits to moss, but for us, like the disadvantages far outweigh the advantages of moss as a substrate.
Yeah. I still like do rehabs and propagation in moss because it's just easy.
But it's
But-
like the only reason I wouldn't use tree fern fiber in that instance is if I didn't care enough about that plant to use such an expensive substrate.
It's
for.
expensive.
But if it was like, because we used to use moss a lot for like anthurium chunks, leafless ones, and we put it in a prop box. Tree fern fiber would work great for that.
Yeah.
But it's like, do we want to use tree fern fiber for this chunk?
Yeah, and like especially really with anything I'm propagating, perlite works really great, and we have so much perlite. It's cheap, way cheaper than tree fern fiber. So I would much rather propagate my anthuriums in perlite rather than use moss. And again, yeah, tree fern fiber is so expensive, not easy to find here. So for like a chunk that you don't really care about, I just throw it in moss.
If we like back up and let's talk about why we hate moss now as a substrate.
Dries out very fast.
It dries out faster than any substrate I have, and it's way harder to rehydrate than any other substrate.
Yeah, it just becomes, once you let it dry out, it becomes just this water resistant ball and you'll water
Yeah.
and it just goes right around it. So you
Yeah.
really have to like get
Unless
it in.
it was no drainage
Yeah.
moss. That's the only way you could, unless you were really just gonna like bottom water and just, it's so time consuming. And then on the plant care side, there's no other substrate that takes as long to repot a plant in as moss.
It's so hard to untangle those roots.
And it's the most destructive to the
Yeah.
roots when you're repotting a moss plant and trying to get it out of moss. If you were to like repot a pond plant, for example, and you were gonna just like upgrade the pot and like get it into like not really like untangle the roots, like I would feel better about that. But then with a moss plant, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this tangle in the middle, I should probably untangle it and then get into a larger pot, and then that like really destroys the root ball.
Because if you leave too large of a root ball of moss, like while moss dries out so fast, it can also retain so much water if it's really packed in there, especially if it's like at the center of your vessel. So you can run the risk of having things like root rot because you don't know what that like water level is.
Yeah,
in
and that moss is older too, and it's more broken down. Those like fibers get smaller and smaller.
It just gets gross.
Yeah, and there's just less space between the pieces of moss. So if you're not really like stuck on moss and you're finding it hard to keep up with plant care, I highly recommend eliminating moss from your plant pots. And we only use moss right now for poles, and like we're not gonna tell you what is the best. We're just gonna tell you what works for us and why.
And honestly, if tree fern fiber was cheaper and more readily available, I would probably use tree fern fiber for all my poles, but I can't afford that.
Yeah, and you can't really, it's hard to do lazy poles with tree fern fiber.
Yeah, it doesn't hold like moss.
Get rid of moss, and if you're short on time, that's gonna be a huge time saver as well.
Yep. So moving along to the next topic.
I'm still holding this plant. So watering days. This is something you don't really struggle with, like finding a time to water. It's more like finding the will to water. For me, it's like I'm not home a lot, so
Yeah.
like actually being present to water my plants doesn't happen so often. So if you're like at the office all the time and you don't have time, like days when you can just like calmly go through and check all your plants and water, I kind of recommend not watering on a schedule, but watering, like checking your plants on a schedule. So like Friday nights, like after work, everything's done, and I feel less tired because I have a weekend ahead of me, then I would set aside some time and water at least one section of my home, and or like check the plants and water the ones that need it. It's best to water plants in the morning versus at night. But if the only time you have is at night, then water your plants
And
at night.
you're a night waterer.
You're a night waterer.
It's not gonna kill your plant. I
No.
water at night all the time.
I pretty much exclusively water at night because I don't have AM hours to water my
Yeah.
plants. It's not an option for me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like it doesn't rain at night in the rainforest. Like it just rains when the earth wants to rain.
I think when you have like these like edema showing up in your leaves and that turning into like fungal issues, that can be more attributed to like watering way too much after a long drought period than that it was watered when the sun was down.
Yeah, and my edema issue got so much better when I increased the airflow in my space. So like I added more fans to my tents. I added fans to my anthurium shelf. If I do water at night in my exos, I just leave the doors open.
Yeah, and some plants are just more prone to edema than others. Yeah, like tetrasperma. I'm fading a little bit.
I'm so burpy. I'm
Oh,
so
burpy baby.
bloated. I need to be burped.
Burp.
I can't. It's stuck.
Imagine if you burped right now.
Imagine if I barfed. You made Pudge barf, make me barf. You guys should have seen it. She literally was gonna go play with him, and she like kind of picked him up by his stomach, and he just burped everywhere.
Chunks. That's where the term blowing chunks came from.
That was
He
truly
blew chunks.
blue chunks.
Now I'll just have to burp Vince after that. If I do.
He's like, what are you doing?
Everyone barfs. Okay, next up is fertilizing. So I've never been one to track when I fertilize my plants. Basically, when I learned to fertilize, I just immediately started fertilizing every watering because I could not be bothered to track when things get fertilized. I find that so much easier to really just not super dilute, but just dilute it less than the recommended amount.
I do like a third.
Yeah, because we mix. So like if you do the recommended amount of every kind, you're gonna probably over fertilize and burn your plants. But we mix basically like 2 gallons in like a pump sprayer of fertilizer, and that's like our fertilizer water. And both of us mix, like, you use orange juice jugs, I use like an old like milk jug kind of gallon thing to fill like watering cans up with, because like that's watering can is like my preferred way to water because it's so much faster than a pump sprayer. But not having to think about like when things were last fertilized is really helpful. So like batch your fertilizer and just do it all the time. If your plants are growing indoors with like a synthetic environment, then it's always kind of growing season. Like it's not like when do you ever go through an entire winter without like any growth on your plants? I'm not talking about like that one problematic plant. I'm talking about like all of your plants indoors. That just doesn't happen.
No, not even on like everything keeps growing. It doesn't matter. It's just this is much slower in the winter compared to like my plant room. My plant room is like year-round summer. It just never stops.
And the notion that like outside of the growing season of spring, summer, that your plants don't need to be fed. It's like it's a living thing. It needs food. Like it creates its food to its own food to some extent with photosynthesis, but there's some things it cannot create for itself. Enough, so you need to give it to them all the time, and not having to think about when is super helpful.
Oh yeah. It's just one less thing. Honestly, I don't know how people keep track of fertilizing when they don't batch it.
Like after a certain number of plants, I don't think you could do it reliably unless you're like tracking it on a spreadsheet.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine all of
Well,
our
I'd love
plants
to be that type of person, but I'm not.
It's like pot 3A, you know? Seedlings
Yeah.
7B,
It got this dilution of this fertilizer.
12 p.m.
50 cc's. Okay, so the last few things we wanted to touch on, and Charmaine actually goes over this a little bit in her ADHD video, which is when you have a large collection and things are growing, then the plant chores start to pile up and it starts to become overwhelming. And if you're anything like me, when something's overwhelming, you just don't touch it at all. It's too daunting of a task.
Ignorance
so
is bliss.
you just let them die. What you do well at, and I'm working on, is breaking things down into manageable sized chunks so they can be tackled one at a time. Like, don't feel like your entire collection needs to be taken care of all at the same time. So in terms of watering, like, water one shelf when you have the energy and the time to do so, and then the next time move to the next shelf and just try to get to it when you can get to it. In terms of like plant chores, making a list, like when you think, so you're like post-it method for remembering things to do, like if you have a list of plants that need certain type of care, so gloriosum needs to be repot, write that down.
Blah,
Then
blah, blah,
you
needs
have
a
like a
hole.
list in front of you of what needs to be done, and it actually can be more motivating to look at that list because you see this list and you're like, one jumps out at you as being like, I feel like doing that right now, so I'm more motivated to do it. Like that sounds like fun. But then like when you just have this like vague, vision of like plants that are like, oh, there's so much to do, and it just like, and then you just shut down and your mind wants to do something else and you just don't want to touch
one
it.
thing at a time.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, even if you don't have ADHD, if you don't have a list of things you need to repot with the size of collection that we have, let's say I look at this gloriosum, oh yeah, that needs to be repotted, I'll remember. And then the next day, there's 2 other things you see. Oh yeah, that'll need to be repotted too. By the end of the week, do you know what that list is on the top of your head? Because I'll forget about that gloriosum and then it's gonna die.
When you see it again, you're like, oh no, and then you
yeah.
feel like a failure because you're like, how could I have forgotten?
Yeah,
about
like
my
I said I was
gloriosum?
gonna do it.
Yeah.
But if you have like a physical list, you're like, okay, bam, 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 I'm gonna do that this week, and then you get it done or you don't. But at least you know that it's on your list of things. Or you can do an app if you like apps. But I just find the phone to be sort of distracting, so I really, really love doing pen and paper for everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like that because they like doing this. Check
Yeah.
or cross.
You could do like a whiteboard. I've been thinking about getting a whiteboard.
Dude.
We should put a whiteboard in our plant room. We should go buy one.
Okay, I wish chalkboards weren't so messy because I love the sound of chalk. Writing, not the screeching, but when it's such a pretty sound.
I have goosebumps.
Oh.
You're done.
I'm done.
Done. Thank you guys for watching this video, but we're not friends anymore.
Not scratching a chalkboard,
No,
just
any
writing.
sound on a chalkboard.
Chalkboard.
Even
Oh,
erasing
wow.
is sick. Oh, it's so sick. Chalkboards should be illegal. I know, gasp. Hate it.
Okay, I guess we're getting whiteboards then.
They even have ones where there's like a calendar.
If we, what's that for? Did you burp in your sweater?
Guys, I'm on my period. I'm so bloated. I should show them my stomach. It's bulging. Oh, that's a camel toe. Don't look. Don't look.
Okay,
yeah,
so I'm going, after this video, I'm going to look up whiteboards, and if I find a cute one, I'm going to link it because
Link
that's a really
it,
good
link
idea.
it.
A whiteboard.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get a whiteboard for my office to keep track of my life, but I think it would be really nice to move, because I have a notebook for my plant stuff that I need to repot or get on a pole, but I would love to just see it on a whiteboard in my plant room.
Loves it. That's a good idea.
Woo!
Wow, unexpected tip. And then the last thing is like more of a physical organization. So if you want to like really expedite and make your like plant chores a lot more efficient, what's been working really well for us is like the same size, like tidy little bins of all our substrates, and then per substrate they get their own scoop. So every, like my soil bin, my pond bin, my
Tree fern fiber.
well, I just started a tree fern fiber bin because I wasn't using it enough. I was saving it too much. Those bins each have their own scoop, and their own spoon, because I use a spoon as like the little tiny bits. So if I need to repot, then like plant mat, my bin, done, and then everything just gets
Put back.
and then slot it on like a nice pile of bins, and like that's made repotting so fast. Like when we got the Amanda plants last time, I had like I think like 10 plants to repot, and it took me like no time at all. So fast.
Yeah, I think being organized just off the bat, like really investing the time to make sure that everything you need for this hobby is just organized in a way that you can understand and that you can live with. It just makes the hobby more enjoyable, because the cleanup of it, the finding the things you need can just be really frustrating, and that can be the one thing that deters you from actually doing a chore, because you're like, oh my gosh, my soil is all the way like
it's like it's
in
not
the
enjoyable
shed.
anymore.
Yeah, like you don't want to. But if you just have everything in bins, just like a quick little doot, and then you're done. And
like if repotting is not enjoyable for you, then there's got to be something wrong, because that's such an integral part of the hobby. So like there's got to be something you can tweak to make repotting more zen and more like relaxing.
Because I think that like sort of where the line gets blurred a little bit for a lot of people is the joy of collecting plants versus the joy of growing plants. So like maybe a lot of people love to collect and see them in their house, but then the actual caring for it is like really daunting and stressful. So yeah, like we said in the beginning, like just get to a manageable size. And then also remember that, like it's a hobby. Like this is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to want to water your plants. You're supposed to want to repot and do fun stuff with it. And so if you don't feel that way anymore, I think it's like time to like sort of reassess where that stress is triggering from.
Yeah. Is it the substrate you're using? Is it the tools that you have? Like, or is there just too much stuff? Like you have too many types of things you've collected over the years, then get rid of the things you don't use anymore. Because for me, like clutter stresses me out. It stresses you out, I think, more than me. But like, I don't like it. I'm not motivated enough to declutter all the time and clean stuff out, but I don't like seeing it, and it makes things not
more
enjoyable.
Stressful.
Not enjoyable at all.
So definitely getting organized is like just a huge thing. It's like probably one of the first tips I would give like a new person in this hobby is like
substrates in bins. Separate them out. Mix a batch, and then you're like every time you need to repot, it's ready for you, and you're much more likely to just pick it up and do it, and it's over so quickly.
I mean, it's always a work in progress though. I feel like we're just like always kind of trying to like understand where our lives fit in with this hobby. But again, we don't have kids, and we definitely, I would say, have more time than someone that have like multiple kids and a full-time job still, but it's still like it requires a lot of our time. We still work, we have other things that we do, so.
And just like know when to draw some boundaries for when your plants start taking over your life in a way it's not like rewarding for you anymore. So that's it for now for the plant care. And then I thought we should add in a little bit about how we manage like Planty's social media on top of all of that, which is for us basically just Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, I can't handle more than everyone's like, you should get on TikTok. I have a TikTok, but
No.
I
refuse.
it to watch TikTok.
I don't want to be a part of this like short form content creating machine. I don't want to contribute to that.
I enjoy watching. I enjoy watching TikToks, but I have zero desire to create a TikTok. Just the same thing with reels. I don't.
Yeah.
Like if I think of a reel that I like, then fine.
Yeah.
But that's like once.
But you're not like, what reel can I make? But anyway, so on top of all that, like social media can be time consuming, and I know a lot of you watching this will have a plant Instagram. I think would say like the majority of you probably have a plant Instagram. If you don't, that's not weird or anything, but it can be stressful because like you go a certain amount of time without posting, and then you're like, feel stressed or
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't posted in so long, and then if I post again, like there's no visibility, blah, blah, blah. So like, how do we kind of manage continuously posting content?
Well, I think the one thing specifically to us is that we just enjoy sharing photos of our plants because we refer back to them so much, especially just for YouTube. Like, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I posted this plant because otherwise I wouldn't have this photo and I wouldn't be able to show you guys how far it's come.
Or like at the time you were like, it's so big, and then you're like,
now it's big.
So big. Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. It's like, we don't post on Instagram so that we can become like famous. Like, honestly, I think both of our followings are way larger than we ever even thought would be possible because we've been friends on Instagram since we were just, it was like brand new. Like, I remember when you first made your Instagram and you added me.
Yeah, we were friends before I started my Instagram.
Yeah,
and yours wasn't that.
No,
old
mine
at
was
that
just
point.
like,
it was like less than
so
a year,
little,
6 months or something like that.
But I think one thing is that we just really enjoy.
We enjoy photography.
Yeah.
And we obviously want to show our plants in a way that like share our collection, right? Because it's like enjoyable to grow, but we want to be able to share that excitement with people. I mean, that sounds cheesy, but that's literally like the reason I have an Instagram.
Yeah, I don't like post something saying like, this better get 800 or more likes or else I'm gonna delete it and archive it.
Or hide my likes.
Hide my likes. Like, I don't really care. Like, my engagement has tanked so bad since I hit 30,000. But I mean, I don't.
No, but like,
whatever. Like,
it's the quality of your engagement, but that's like not really. What am I trying to say? It's not like the point of you having an Instagram is to have like, the algorithm is not at the forefront of our minds. It's just having a platform to share our collection, and like it's not even, we're not even sharing like growing tips and stuff on Instagram.
No,
you know?
like
it's, that's all kind of like on YouTube.
Our captions are just
So the problem with Instagram lately for me is that we have kind of dug this hole for ourselves where every post needs a ridiculous caption.
It started off because I just didn't feel like I had anything to contribute in terms of like sharing information about a plant that 5 million other people have shared. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna write something.
Well, for me it started because like I had an Instagram for Huxley, and then I just made stupid captions for it, and then I didn't want to be like cutesy about my plants, so then I started writing stupid captions, but they were really short and they just got more and more stupid over time and longer, and you know, all that. So that is definitely something that stops me from posting because I have the photo, I just can't think of a caption, so then I just don't post. But anyway, how I make time to take photos and edit and things like that is the biggest thing I can do. Is I'm not gonna have time every day with like lighting and things like that to take a photo. So when there's good light, I'm gonna just batch it and take like photos of like 5 plants, and then I'll have photos for a week, and then I'll do it again the next week. That's really the only thing that helps me like actually post on Instagram.
I'm pretty lucky in that I live in a place where I can pretty much take a photo any time of the day and get like a decent shot. But it's more so like, there are times where I just don't want to take photos of my plants. Like, I'm just
not inspired
by it or whatever. So on those days I'll just post a picture of Pudge or post something stupid, you know.
Or an old photo.
But I think that like, I don't have like a set schedule anymore where I'm like, I have to post every day, I have to post every day at this time. I used to. But now I'm just more sort of relaxed about it. And I think a big part of it is because we've focused more of our energy into YouTube.
Yeah. Like on it.
Did you hear it?
No. Well, you're like Dutch ovening your stuff.
I know.
Yeah, we used to post every single day. You used to post multiple times a day.
I just feel like Instagram is sucking the fun out of
if I stress about it, I'm not going to enjoy it anymore. I still enjoy Instagram, but I'll go like days without posting anything.
I don't even really care anymore.
Yeah, but then again, like as someone who's like trying to you make some money out of content creation. Like Instagram's not where the money is. So like for us, it's just purely just fun. And when it stops being fun, we just take a pause and then we'll start it back up and we are inspired to take a photo. But you can't post photos on YouTube. So they both serve an equal, different purpose.
You can post photos on your community tab.
True.
You never use
I've
that.
never used my community tab. And then YouTube, that's a whole different beast.
That's a whole
So
different beast.
you have, I mean, a lot more time for video making than
My
I
business, my biddiness. What?
But your business.
My business. My business sort of has, I worked so hard for like 2 years straight. Like I wasn't sleeping so that my business can be in a place where it's basically self-running. It's mostly digital product. So really the bulk of my work is just answering emails, doing custom orders, and then creating new materials. So on that front, I'm grateful that I sacrificed 2 years of my life to like get to where it is now, because now it's just sort of maintaining the business. So I do, and that's why I started my YouTube when I did, because I felt like my business was in a good place to kind of run itself so that I could take more time for YouTube. But I still am doing that every single day, and I do freelance work too. Like I have clients that I do graphic design work for and branding for. So YouTube really is just squeezed in between those other things, because I have deadlines with clients, I have customers that have paid. So really that is where my priority is, and then YouTube comes after. But I have tried to make it a priority because
I mean, YouTube is a business now.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I also feel like because YouTube is so saturated now, especially with a lot more plant people coming on the scene, like I would say we're new to on the scene too in the YouTube world. I feel like I feel that pressure to put out like quality content because people regularly come back to visit. Like I feel like I owe them my time and my effort. Sorry, my doctor's calling. We're gonna have to take an ad break.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Just wrapping up the whole Instagram, YouTube thing.
Yeah.
So you were talking about how you, with your businesses and stuff, and you slot YouTube in between.
Yeah.
I think one thing is that you've gotten a lot faster,
Oh yeah, it's like a
way faster.
I'm a machine
And you
now.
also, you just edit down your videos less now. So,
Yeah.
like you're just getting better at making videos, but you kind of never take a day off.
never.
But I think that's pretty common with people growing channels. They just don't take days off, really.
Yeah, and I
Consistently.
don't want to like promote that. Like I don't
That's not
really,
a glamorous thing at
yeah,
all.
I don't really. I say that I'm tired a lot on my channel. I think people have commented all the time, like, why are you always tired? Like, you always say you're tired. It's because I don't want to say like, oh, I'm just always working, I'm always busy, because I don't like when people glamorize it. Like, God, no days off, and
yeah,
I was
it
working
shouldn't-
till 3 a.m. and now I've got all these clients. Like, I don't know. I find it a little cringe when people glamorize being busy. But
It's not something you want to promote, but it is reality.
it is reality.
Yeah.
Like I am very tired because I'm always working, but it's by choice, and I'm just grateful that, you know, we're both in the position where we can make videos and have a little
Yeah.
money to feed our dogs and pay some bills. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not much, but
It definitely helps.
helps.
I mean, it
It
helps
helps.
to do something and, you know, not be for free.
yeah.
Because it is very exhausting making YouTube videos, and it's obviously a lot of mental
Oh,
energy too.
it can be soul sucking, and then you have to
Yeah.
deal with like the trolls, and
Yeah.
it's a lot.
That's a whole video on its own.
I feel like we could talk about this all day.
Yeah,
All
but
day.
yeah, I think you've gotten way more efficient at it, and you've been forced into that because you're not uploading twice a one. I
Twice.
feel like it's a new thing. It's not a new thing anymore, but twice a week. For me, I'm not as organized or quick, and I don't have as much time. So I'm always playing catch up. So, and it's like I'm at the mercy of my work as well. So like when my schedule changes at work, then my whole filming schedule changes as well.
That's stressful because this is
So-
the first time in a really long time where I'm filming right before the video needs to
Yeah,
go
and
out.
I've always done that. So
I forgot
Yeah.
how stressful it is. Like, I've been filmed up so far in advance that I can sort of just sit back and like, you know,
Yeah.
film things at my own pace.
And if you don't like a video, you can scrap it and refilm it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have that choice.
So,
If
well,
I
it's
hate it, I'm
going
like,
up.
well, I guess
it's
I'm
live.
putting up a video I hate. So
Yeah.
I'd like to get to that point, but and I am faster at editing now than I used to be, but I'm gonna be on this like film 2 days before it's up schedule for the foreseeable future. So it's like I have to draw boundaries for my work. Like these are my filming days. I'm not going to accept any work on those days. Like you cannot contact me. You're gonna have to just wait till I'm back to work. So it's exhausting, and I haven't had like a real weekend since
Since I've known
this
you.
year. But like my channel started on January 1st, so all of 2022 has
Oh my
pretty
gosh,
much
it's
been
almost a year.
almost a year. Yeah.
We should have a 1-year-old party anniversary celebration.
Where was your 1-year-old party anniversary celebration?
This March.
But where's your party?
I didn't have a party. My friends didn't throw me a party.
Zoom in on your face. You guys didn't tell me it was her 1-year-old anniversary
I didn't
party.
even realize I hit my 1 year until
I can't ever forget because it's New Year's Day.
Yeah. I don't even remember when I started my channel to be. I think it was in March.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
But anyway,
Anyway.
no days off. Filming day is filming day, and it's got to happen no matter what. And it just gets easier.
It really does.
Yeah.
I think,
I'm not good at it, but it's.
but at least
gets
you have a
easier.
rhythm.
Ish, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I remember when I first filmed like my first 3 videos, I couldn't even wrap my mind around like, okay, I have to do the intro and now I have to like set up this shot. Like everything seemed so overwhelming. Where now it's like it just feels more natural.
You have a routine.
Yeah,
And
like more
also,
routine.
like every time I have an idea, I just jot it in. Like I have a note on my phone of like all the things, and I just delete things that I've already made. That's basically like before I'm gonna film or that week, thinking about what I'm gonna film, I look at the list and whatever motivates me the most. Because there's gonna be videos I don't feel like making, but I know it's on my list. I'm gonna get to one day, but I don't feel like doing this video this week, so I'm just not gonna do it. So like a really wide variety of videos that will cater to different moods that I'm in and different levels of busyness is super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you can't think of something to do, if I can't think of something to do, just ask, and then just give each other ideas.
Yeah, my last one that went up. Not my last one, but my variegated plants one that
Would
went
that
up.
have gone up by now?
No, it's yeah, by the time this
Yeah.
video is up,
Okay.
it'll
Wait.
go up
This isn't on Sunday. Is it going on tomorrow?
tomorrow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is
That
that
was
what it
the
was? I was
group
like,
chat
Alice,
one. I just like got off work and I'm like, do this.
Da-da-da-da-da.
She's like, okay.
Done.
Done. Yeah.
It's
Hopefully that gives you guys like a kind of vague idea of like what our lives are like in comparison to the size of our collections. And I think we're still having fun in this hobby, so it's
Oh my
not like a
gosh.
point it's like not enjoyable. It's not like it's just like a job and that's it.
No,
Like it
no.
wouldn't, I wouldn't do YouTube if plants weren't fun.
Oh,
So-
totally. It's gotta be fun, or else, like, what's the point in doing it? I could make money by going like this on an app and selling like, pictures of my feet. You gotta go to feetfinder.com.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put that on the to-do list.
Spread your toes.
They crack too.
And I can crack them. Anyway.
Anyway,
that's
I
it.
think that's about it for today. We still have another video to film, so it won't be up yet by the time this video is up, but if you're watching this in the future, I will be linking the video we're filming on Charmaine's channel, which is the Tortilla Slap Part 2.
I'm ready.
Which I think you guys really enjoyed Part 1, so
I got my arm ready. We're gonna do it.
I hope you guys enjoyed this more like chill podcasty discussion type style video. It was more enjoyable to film for sure. This was enjoyable to film because it's so relaxed and I don't have to be like
Basically
showing-
sleeping.
Yeah,
I love it.
That was fun. So
Please tell me you guys like it, because then we can do this again
I
and
know.
again and again and again. We just need
because
McDonald's and coffee.
these days are actually really enjoyable to film. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to Charmaine if you aren't already. I will link all the
Sparkly
videos. I will link all the videos we mentioned down below, especially the ADHD video. Make sure you watch that. And
Without further ado, don't forget to like this video.
it would really mean a lot deep down in my heart. I think that's all the chores that we had for you. I hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend. And we will see you in the next one.
And don't forget to floss your teeth.
Or not. Goodbye.